Welcome back to the Perfect Season podcast. It's Antonio back for another episode with Jake, who does the SEC Room on TikTok.
What's
He'll
good?
he'll be he'll be coming back, coming back very soon. Got a lot of good things coming your way. I know it's almost the end of college football season, which is sad, but we're going over week 11 or 12.
I believe we're in week 11 now.
We're in week 11, going over week 11 games. Now we're starting off hot. You got Alabama and Ole Miss. Bama just suffered their second loss of the year. And Ole Miss is one of those teams you ride high with for a couple weeks, then they fall off the face of the earth. They lost to LSU, but they do have some notable wins this year. But I see Bama taking this. They're they're down bad, lost to LSU last week. LS, Ole Miss, they outright lose.
Um, it's pretty tough to say because granted, Bama lost their second game of the season.
Yeah, when you
They're by no means a weak team. I mean, they're just
yeah,
kind of tough here. But the only the only thing I can see Ole Miss, the only reason I can see Ole Miss losing this game is because of how suspect their defense has been.
yeah.
Like their offense is great, but their defense is kind of like ours. The
Yeah,
offense can
it's
put up.
like a roller coaster. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, like the offense can put up points, but they can't seem to stop the other team from responding, which
Yeah.
is huge in college football. I mean, that's been pretty much the basis of my teams, or so. But I definitely wouldn't write Ole Miss off completely, though. I think they
I
still
mean,
have
it's
it.
like I would say it's like a 60-40 they win.
Yeah, but
60% Bama, 40% Ole
yeah,
Miss.
if I had to pick outright, I'm gonna say Alabama takes this
Mhm.
one.
Because when was the last time you saw Alabama suffer two losses in one season? It's
It
been
was
it's been a hot minute.
they actually said that this is Alabama's first two-loss regular season since 2011.
I don't know,
So
it's crazy to think
it's been over 10 years.
it's been a minute since you've seen Bama have two, and they're not making the playoffs this year. Unless
Yeah,
Bama wins out,
I
they
mean,
have
I mean, theoretically they could, but a lot of the teams ahead of them would have to lose, and they would have to win out
theoretically
with only like 3 games left in the season. I don't see that happening.
they have, I think, New Mexico State, and then they have Auburn. Both teams are terrible.
Yeah, and like I said, their only possible chance of them even still getting the playoffs is if every team ahead of them loses, and I just
Yeah.
don't.
I don't
I mean,
like looking at the top four right now, Georgia, Ohio State, which I still question,
mhm,
and then Michigan and TCU. Flip to Clemson. I still have faith in them though. I still
right.
got faith in Clemson. Don't worry. I was a little upset last week. Had my emotions. Still a top 10 team. Nothing to worry about. I got faith in DJ. Got a couple bad games. Then you get yourself back together with Louisville this week.
Yeah, I will say Clemson's offense is definitely a lot slower than what they usually are, and
Yeah.
that's
But
been y'all's big issue. But I wouldn't write them
they'll
off.
bounce back
Yeah, I wouldn't write them off yet either.
because we have Louisville. We got Louisville, Miami, and Carolina.
Yeah.
Winnable games. All winnable games. Next
Um,
game, next game is Arkansas and Ole Miss. No, Arkansas and LSU. My bad.
yeah, and
And
the funny thing about the LSU and Arkansas game is that usually ends. I mean that actually ends up being a better game than most people think it would be. I mean,
yeah,
it's that's another rivalry game.
I mean
So
they're close. They're not even like 4 hours apart from each other. It's like it's a state across the state.
yeah, but obviously I'm still gonna take LSU in this
I'm
one. I mean,
taking I'm
Arkansas,
taking LSU. The thing I noticed about Arkansas, Arkansas can start off really good. They can
yeah,
start off strong. The
that's what I
second
was just
half, they're a first half team, and second half they just fall off.
yeah. I mean, in the first half of the year, they were ranked in the top 10, and then
Mhm.
they just stumbled.
They just stumbled away. Now you got two teams that are struggling dearly. You got Auburn and Texas A&M.
I think Auburn can take that game.
I see Auburn taking this game, low scoring game. Jimbo Fisher's fired after this year.
Um, yeah, I'll be honest. I was a little surprised that Jimbo still had his job after they lost
I
to
mean,
us.
Jeff Scott just got fired from USF.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jimbo Fisher, he's got such a huge contract. They probably can't really
Buy him
afford
out.
it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think this might actually be an offensive shootout because because Texas A&M has a pretty terrible defense.
Yeah. So does
Auburn obviously hasn't had
Auburn
that either.
allows a lot of points per game.
Yeah,
Now the
so
game,
shootout, but Auburn will take it.
I got Auburn on the last second touchdown. And then
Eh,
now we got your Florida Gators against the South Carolina Gamecocks. And now South Carolina was a ranked team like 2 weeks ago. But
yeah,
then you managed to only put up 10 points against Missouri. I mean, it is what it is, but I'm riding with Florida in this game. I think Florida takes it. They're coming off a strong win against Texas A&M. Florida takes it by 2 touchdowns.
but the funny thing about South Carolina is it's so weird when we play them. Like they could be having one of the worst years and they'll still kind of give us problems.
Mhm.
But I think being that we have the home field advantage, we should be able to take this one. But if
Yeah.
there's one, we cannot let Spencer Rattler get hot. If he gets
Spencer
hot,
Rattler's not a good quarterback.
yeah. But we have seen though in the past that when he's on that day, he can make plays.
Yeah.
But he has obviously not been the same since he went to South Carolina. So hopefully, our defense overall, our offense they put up the points, but our defense has to up.
Yeah, I'm saying like I'm agreeing because I was watching some of the Florida A&M game, and yeah, your defense only allowed what 17 points, or
What against?
wasn't an offensive shootout?
No, we allowed 24 points.
No, 24. I
But
mean, your defense is good. It's just hasn't
well,
been
the thing is,
hasn't been hot this year.
no, because honestly, our game against Texas A&M, granted, it was still kind of an ugly game. Our
Mhm.
defense just not making stops when they needed first half, but the second half they stepped up, actually shut them out in the second half.
Yeah,
So
just like
hopefully after that, there's some kind of click there,
yeah,
and they can carry it on in this game since we'll be at home.
yeah.
So,
You got the home fans, you know.
and it's senior day, so there'll be a lot more emotions and stuff going on.
Oh
So
yeah, it is.
I take this.
Florida takes it by 2 touchdowns. I'm still going with my opinion. Um, then we go Georgia, Mississippi State. I'm right. I know Mississippi State hasn't done well, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, take." I'm going with Georgia in this game. Georgia's
Yeah,
just too powerful. But I think Mississippi State hangs with them in the first quarter.
yeah. I think they'll pretty much hang with them like in the first half, and then Georgia will pull away in the second half.
That's what I noticed about a lot of Georgia's games. They
Yeah,
struggle in the first half. Second half is good,
yeah,
and I'm still going with Georgia.
yeah. I'm
Now
gonna
we
go
got
on this one.
the one time you root for Georgia.
Yeah,
Now we got Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, like I said, Vanderbilt's terrible.
yeah. I mean,
Outright.
new.
I'm going with Kentucky.
Yeah,
And what
this
was
will
that?
this would be pretty much Will Levis's, pretty much bounce back kind of game. I mean, even though they won against Missouri last week, it was
Yeah.
an ugly game, but I think this will be a good opportunity for Will Levis to get his mojo back and just
Yeah.
because we've seen early in the season he can be a great quarterback.
Yeah.
I still believe he could be a first round pick.
He's projected top 5.
Yeah. So
Now
I
we did just cover LSU and Arkansas. We covered Ole Miss and Alabama.
mhm.
We covered Where is it? Ole Miss, Bama. I'm reading off the paper. We covered Mississippi State and we covered Georgia. Now we got Missouri and Tennessee. And this is a bounce back game for Tennessee.
Yeah,
Hands down. I still believe I have faith in Tennessee.
yeah.
I got good faith.
I honestly see Tennessee making their way back into the bracket. I really do think one of the top 4 teams will lose before the playoffs start.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be Georgia because the rest of Georgia's schedule is University of Kentucky and Georgia Tech.
Yeah. I don't know. Georgia, I've already pretty
I think
much.
it's going to be TCU that loses.
It'll either be TCU
I
or
want to see
somewhere.
Ohio. Well,
I
think
mean,
about it like this: you
if
got
you think
You
you got to
got
think
Michigan.
Ohio State, and Michigan are both in the playoffs right now.
Yeah,
They
that's what
got
I was about to say. I was going to say Michigan, Ohio State.
so
Michigan and Ohio State, they're going to lose. One of those
yeah,
teams is finishing undefeated.
yeah. So Tennessee will make their way back into the bracket, and
Tennessee's going to bounce back in this game. 100% agree.
yeah,
Now we covered Carolina and Florida, just covered Tennessee, Missouri, covered A&M and Auburn. Last game we have to cover from SEC is Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Vanderbilt's terrible.
yeah.
Outright, I feel bad. Like
I mean, it goes without saying.
it goes without saying, yes, but Kentucky takes this game
Yeah, like
outright.
this will be more of a confidence boost for Will Levis, and then more than likely in the second half they'll let some of the second string guys go out there
Yeah, I
and then
see. I see
oh,
Will Levis stop and play in fourth quarter if it's a blowout. They put the backup in.
yeah.
So that's covered majority of the games for this past week. Now, there was a lot of news that happened this past week in college football. I
Hmm.
know USF fired Jeff Scott.
Right.
USF fired Jeff Scott, and there's a lot of potential signees for the new head coach. Dan Mullen's an option. Deion Sanders, Jim Levitt, John Gruden. There's so many.
I think Urban Meyer was in the mix on that too.
I will not. I will not take Urban Meyer as a head coach. I'll tell you
I
that. I don't like Urban. I'm
don't get
never.
me wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. I absolutely appreciate the time that Urban Meyer spent with us when he was with us. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, he got us 2 championships, but the
but
way he
then
will always leave a bad taste in my mouth.
I mean, I just don't like him because, like, yeah, he produced well in Ohio State,
Mm,
but he didn't produce well in Jacksonville. And then
yeah,
you had off the field issues also. Like that's what I look at in a head coach. You have off the field issues, and then you got to see how you treat the players.
right.
I want a coach like a Jim Levitt or Willie Simmons from FAMU, a lower level D2 coach. I've seen he has a good record. He is 0-1 in bowl games though. That is a downfall.
Right.
But if I can look from my notes, I actually have the list of head coaches that USF was potentially looking at because there's some notable names on here that could be like in this mix of head coaching and turn USF around. We already went on Dion. We went over Dion. Then you
Yeah.
got Tom Herman, an offensive coordinator. You got Jim Levitt, who had them nationally ranked second for a long period of time, and then got fired because he supposedly slapped someone.
Right.
So we say. Then you got Scott Frost. I am not a Scott Frost fan. Like, yeah, he did well at Central, but look
Yeah.
at what he did at Nebraska.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Honestly,
people say he's a good coach though, because he did even though he did go 1-2 to start this year, or 1-3, whatever. They look at what he did at Central with the
yeah.
self-proclaimed national
Uh,
championship.
honestly, I
And
can't believe Nebraska took as long as they did to let him go.
I can't believe A&M's taking as long as it is to fire Jimbo.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not that surprised with A&M because, like I said, Jimbo has such a huge contract, and that's a
Yeah.
lot of money paying out.
Then you got Todd Monken, Georgia's offensive coordinator, Tom Allen, Kenny Dillingham, Alex Atkins, Alex Galesh, Manny Diaz. One of my favorites, Dan Mullen. I like Mullen. Not like good coach, knows how to win, knows the state of Florida.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a quarterback guru, so I mean I definitely think he can turn
He
USF
can
program around.
like it's gonna obviously doesn't come overnight, doesn't come in a snap of the
No,
fingers. It
no,
takes its time. So I do have faith whoever is our new head coach turns this freaking program around.
right.
And I want to see USF be competitive again. It's like
Oh no,
We play
good
SMU tomorrow.
5. So
I
I mean
mean,
they used to be consistently,
they used to be good when we had remember Quinn Flowers, Rodney Adams, Marlon Mack, Augie Sanchez,
mhm,
and Vincent Jackson Jr., all those players. We were nationally ranked 17th, 18th, 19th.
yeah,
But it's just like I want them to be consistent again. And when Coach Charlie Strong was here, our out of conference schedule was so messed up. Like next year we got Bama. They're gonna beat us
yeah.
by 100, clear as day. Bama, I mean, I hope we go well with Bama, But like if you look at it, we have all these Power Five schools,
Mhm.
but it's automatic loss, automatic loss, automatic loss. Like, or some wins, maybe, hopefully. They struggled to beat Howard.
Yeah.
Howard's a low level FBS school.
I will say I was pretty disappointed in Charlie Strong's tenure there because he used to be the defensive coordinator for us, and that
Yeah.
was why he was so dominant. So I really thought he would turn you around for sure, but
I mean, he
unfortunately,
held like two winning seasons. That's the thing.
yeah.
Now, I don't know if you probably heard John Gruden's a mix of a name and the opportunities over here at USF.
I mean, Gruden's familiar with the Tampa area, so
He
it,
is.
it
I
would.
mean, he lives in Tampa. He's never coached in Tampa though. That's the thing. Like he's never coached college. He's only
Yeah,
coached the Bucks and the Raiders.
yeah,
But I'd be okay. Like you'd have to be paying him a lot of money for him to come to Tampa.
yeah. I
And then
agree.
you got all the people that are accusing him of the things he said, which I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I don't I just it's gonna take a long time for me to trust someone who can rebuild this program.
I mean, and that's understandable, especially being that a program that's been subpar for so long.
Mhm.
Um, But like you said, Rome wasn't built in a day. So,
No. I
and
mean,
college program give it a minimum of 2 to 3 years to turn around.
like yeah, I wanted Jeff Scott to succeed so much. He
Yeah,
came from Clemson, was Dabo's basically understudy, but he went 4-25. That doesn't cut it in the NFL. And it's just they had a bunch of games they should have won. Should have came back against ECU and beat them. Should have beat Tulane last year. Should have beat Temple. I didn't even
yeah.
watch the Temple game. That's how bad it was.
Hmm.
I mean, I was probably too busy. I was too busy off-roading and breaking my car.
I mean,
But that's a story
we
for
all have
another day.
we all have those games every once in a while where it's like
Yeah,
because of how the year's going, you don't even really want to bother to watch it.
you don't want
That's
to
kind
bother to watch USF, but there's like I thought about going to the game tomorrow. Tickets are $5.
of,
That's how, but SMU just put up 77 points.
yeah.
It's a Houston who
Uh,
put up 63.
yeah. I
I,
I wouldn't I wouldn't be too inclined to go to a game after seeing that either.
I mean, it's just a vibe, have some fun. It's gonna be
Yeah,
nice out tomorrow, low 70s, maybe some 60s. Gonna be a
true.
little cold. I mean, you can agree with me, anything under 70s cold.
Yeah, I agree. Um,
Yeah, like
that's just me. I mean, people look at me like I'm crazy when I say, anything below just the 70s in general is cold.
thank
So,
you. I was at work earlier in 60, it was like 66, 67 and windy. Tropical storm Nicole came
yeah.
through, had us working, saturated. It was cold. cold and windy.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
don't know.
I've been to plenty of college games where it's rain, wind, like been to plenty of those games. But it sucks sitting there, but it is a vibe.
Right.
So much of a vibe. And then I was in Jacksonville this past weekend for the Raider game. They need to
Yeah,
fire McDaniels.
you should have seen me at the Utah game. I had face paint and everything. It started raining. I, had to bust out the poncho. I
Yeah,
saved I saved the face paint though.
that's good.
So I mean,
No, but I remember I painted up for one USF game. One USF game. And then, things happen where it's like they figured out I don't go there, so I can't paint up anymore.
right.
But I'll be up in Clemson again in 2 weeks for the Carolina game, like I said. And if we're speaking about Clemson, Clemson will bounce back. I'm
No,
calling it.
they will.
I, I love reading. I was after the game, I was reading comments on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all these sports medias. They're saying Clemson season's done because you lose to Notre Dame. You take one loss to Notre Dame. We lost to Notre Dame when DJ started last year. Well, 2 years ago, actually, when Trevor had COVID.
Right.
But I'm telling we struggle in South Bend. Now we're finishing out the season at home. We are the ACC champions. And when I go up for Carolina, it's going to be cold. It's a night game. You know, Clemson's going to beat Carolina. That's
Yeah.
just me. I think Clemson beats Louisville. I'm hoping for a blowout. Move back up in the rankings, back to hopefully top five, where we deserve to be.
Yeah. I will say, Clemson. You know, there's a couple games they don't need to just win. They need to have a pretty good spread as well to keep them.
We play Louisville, then Miami, who just got murdered.
Yeah, Miami, you guys need to blow out
We
as
need to
far as
blow out Miami,
yeah.
which I think we will. We can both agree if we're gonna want to talk about
Oh,
FSU Miami.
even Florida State did it. So
Florida State blew out Miami.
yeah,
Leon was there, who's one of the other co-hosts on this podcast. He was there. It was 95% golden garnet or whatever their colors are.
yeah, it's Garnet and Gold.
Same thing. And burgundy.
And I was just saying,
No, but I know it pains both of us to say, oh yeah, we both probably root for FSU that game because you knew
I,
FSU was gonna win.
I was just kind of watching out of curiosity to see what happens.
Yeah, and then it was 45-3.
Yeah, I was definitely at least hoping for a better game, but I pretty much kind of knew it wasn't gonna be that
It
great of a
was
game.
gonna be a blowout, hands down.
I lost to Middle Tennessee at home early in the season,
Yeah,
so
I remember watching that, and like you lose to Middle Tennessee, you're done.
yeah. I mean, just yeah, you like not to downplay their program. I mean, I'm sure they're a great program and in
Yeah,
their league conference, but but when you're a Power Five school, when you lose to a team like that,
it's
it's very
like it's like watching Texas A&M to lose to Appalachian State,
yeah. I mean
and
that's literally the equivalent of the big brother losing to the little brother in a fist
like
fight.
when Michigan State beats Michigan from time to time. Like I was rooting for my cousin. He goes to Michigan,
Right.
but I prefer Michigan State. When Michigan plays Ohio State, I do root for Michigan because when Ohio State loses, America wins. Just like watching the Cowboys lose.
I'll be honest. The Michigan Ohio State game, I do root for Michigan in that game usually.
Yeah, I root for Michigan. I like Michigan in that game because it's just Ohio. Think about we can both agree we hate Ohio State fans. They're one of the most toxic fan bases there is.
Right.
And the one thing I hate about them, they always capitalize the Ohio State. What makes you different from everyone else? Like, what makes you different from South Carolina, Clemson? You don't see those schools saying the Clemson University, but
I don't know. I don't knock anyone's traditions or anything,
yeah,
but from on that.
it just it is what it is. That's all I gotta say. Like, You know, it's I just can't stand Ohio State fans. Well, I used to be friends with an Ohio State fan. My teacher was an Ohio State fan, and they knew I was a Clemson fan, so that didn't go over well.
Right. I mean, I've never personally met an Ohio State fan, but I
I
mean,
also met an Alabama fan.
oh, I've met plenty of those.
I was on a 7-hour trail ride with a Bama fan, a Georgia fan, an Ohio State fan, me, a Clemson fan,
Yeah.
and then there was a Florida fan, and then I forgot who the other one was, but it was just one of the most toxic rides. It's like getting all the schools together, putting them in a room, and just listening to each other hate each other.
I mean, at least 3 or 4 of those schools, you've all met each other in the playoffs multiple times. So I
Yeah.
would kind of a heated conversation.
It got interesting, and then everyone started to enjoy each other, and yeah, so it went well, it went smooth. But
Mm.
I don't see TCU staying top four.
Nah, I personally don't either.
If
It,
if Clemson doesn't make it into the top four, but they move. Obviously, we're gonna move back into the top five conversation, hopefully, or we stay here at top 10. But
I mean,
I'd
it's already
want I'd want to see a team like Oregon come in.
yeah. I mean, it's already pretty much a given that either Ohio State or Michigan gonna lose, and that's gonna open up, the 5 or 6.
Unless you see an upset loss.
Right.
Like this is what I was telling Alex and everyone else. Ohio State barely beat a Northwestern team by 2 touchdowns,
Yeah.
and they're
Who?
still a top four team.
And I think
It's all a
I think
bias thing.
they only had one win all year. That's all I know.
Yeah, they went now they're 1-8,
Right.
and you barely beat a Northwestern team. Michigan and Ohio State are both not top four teams. I will argue this any day. Look at their wins compared to other schools. Like I was comparing it to Clemson to Michigan. Clemson has the harder strength of schedule. Yeah, we did lose that one game to Notre Dame. We did lose. We're gonna bounce back. They always bounce back after a loss. We're back home in the best Death Valley, home of 88,000 people, one of the loudest stadiums in college football. It's amazing. You got to go up. But Clemson has a harder opponent schedule than Michigan. Michigan played cupcake teams in the Big Ten, and their one top, 15-20 win was against Penn State.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But then
So,
again, I mean, I don't know. Like, I get that Ohio State and Michigan are in the same conference, but if
and
I
then you
had
got
to decipher between the two, Michigan I feel like usually plays a bit tougher games than Ohio State does
yeah,
from time.
and then
But
you got Ohio State, who also their one big win is against Penn State, and you beat them by 2 touchdowns.
yeah,
So, in my opinion, Ohio State and Michigan are not top four teams. I'd say Oregon maybe. Oregon may be a top four team if TCU loses.
um, honestly, I don't think so with Oregon.
You think they're frauds?
I wouldn't say they're frauds, but I mean, like I get it was the first game of the year, but you've seen what happened when they played Georgia to open up the season.
Georgia, if any whoever plays Georgia is going to get blown out. Besides Missouri,
Yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, at least 1 or 2 of the top 4 teams right now are going to lose, and it's going to open that back up for Tennessee and or Clemson.
yeah, because let's hypothetically say Clemson beats Louisville by a blowout, which needs to happen. I mean, Louisville did beat James Madison, but it's James Madison.
Right.
So it's James Madison's terrible. But of course, Louisville was going to beat them.
Yeah.
You play Clemson.
I
Clemson
mean, I
hasn't
wouldn't say
lost.
that's terrible. I mean, they're just, they're
They're
smaller
just a
pro.
lower level school that has a terrible record. Now you got Clemson, who hasn't lost in Death Valley since 2016. So I think Clemson takes it this week. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be a blowout, a bounce back game. You get everything you need together on offense. Then you got Clemson's got Miami. Miami's terrible.
Yeah. That like I said, that should
That needs to be a blowout.
yeah. If
Or
you got against Miami, that's gonna hurt y'all as far as rankings go.
if if we allow, I'm gonna say our highest will allow against Miami, hoping no more than 17 points or 10.
Yeah.
We need to beat them by at least 3 scores.
Yeah. You definitely can't allow more than anywhere between 14 and 17 points
Yeah.
in that game.
Like our defense is good. It's just injury bug.
Yeah.
And then you close out the season against Carolina, and I will be there. And I'm telling you, it's one of the games that is amazing. It will be amazing to go to. But I can't wait for that game. And then you're closing out the season against FSU,
Yeah.
which
Like I
it's
said,
in the beginning of the season. You're gonna hate me for this. I have FSU beating y'all.
honestly, I even as a Florida fan, I thought so too. I mean, if I'm being realistic,
I mean,
but
yeah,
I will say, if Richardson can stay on top of his game like he has been the past few weeks,
then you might have a good game.
yeah. But it'll be a fight when we go against FSU, and we got to play them in Tallahassee this year. So
Yeah, Tallahassee's no joke.
it's not going to be easy whatsoever.
Me as a Clemson fan going into Tallahassee got called names that were very rude
Yeah.
and got a beer thrown at them. So that was even better.
Florida State fans, they're very ruthless. But
We'll
at the
get
same,
into that when we film the episode with Alex. You know, the week before Thanksgiving because he is going to be out of town.
mhm.
I will be the host of the show. I'll be the host, and we'll go back and forth with a good conversation. But most likely that will do it for today's episode. Y'all know the gist. It's like a broken record. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. If you disagree or whatsoever, let us know. A comment does help and a subscription. But once again, thank you for watching. Next week, we'll have the top 25 rankings, and then we'll have our NFL overview, and then another episode probably next Friday. But once again, thank you so much for watching.
What it is.